Republicans in farm country are utterly livid at the Trump administration for an frankly inscrutable, utterly outrageous bailout that it made to Argentina last week. But why are farmers angry? So here's why. Because of Trump's trade war with China, China has bought zero soybeans from American farmers this year. China eats about 2/3 of all the soybeans around the world. Last year, China, I think, accounted for about 52% of soybean purchases. So, in other words, without China buying soybeans from US farmers, our farmers are utterly screwed. Now, the only other real alternatives for China are one, to grow them in China, and they're trying to do that long term, but really to purchase them from Brazil and also Argentina. Most of what they get, but when they're not getting it from us, comes from Brazil, but Argentina is also a huge producer of soybeans. So last week, the Trump administration announced a $20 billion bailout of Argentina because Trump said he's supporting his friend in the upcoming election, Javier Milei. Javier Milei, you might remember, this is Elon Musk's buddy who did like a Doge type move on Argentina, and he drove the Argentinian economy into the ground, now needs a massive bailout. So Trump is offering this $20 billion lifeline. The same day that Trump and Besant announced this lifeline, Reuters reports that Argentina is now shipping massive amounts of soybeans to China and cut its export taxes to zero. In other words, the American money that we're sending to Argentina is making up the gap. So Argentina now doesn't have to charge these export fees on its soybeans. So China gets a huge discount. So China is out there scrambling, trying to find soybeans to feed its population without buying American soybeans because they're in a trade war that we started with them. And Trump just made it much cheaper and easier for China to buy those from Argentina. Now, there's another brutal aspect to this that isn't getting any coverage, and it's that American hedge funds invested heavily in Argentina after Milei was elected because they thought that his libertarian slash everything approach to the economy was actually going to turn things around and make Argentina a good investment. It didn't work at all. The economy collapsed. And so these American hedge funds were about to lose billions and billions of dollars on these stupid investments. But now Besant, a former hedge fund guy, is the Treasury Secretary now, is coming in, and thanks to the bailout, the hedge funds are actually going to make a profit. And the final piece of this is that this is not the first time that Trump has done this to soybean farmers. The first time he was president, he started a trade war with China, and China responded by not buying soybeans from American farmers. And China instead told Brazil, we want to up our purchases from you. And then they actually started investing and helping Brazil build more highways, and they're putting more than $200 million into this port of Santos to help create capacity so that they can massively expand production of soybeans and exports to China. So they've basically almost doubled production from 2017 to today. Brazil has, and of course, all of these Brazilian soybeans that are being produced now are coming at the expense of the Amazonian rainforest, which was chopped down in order to make room for them. So awesome. Everybody's winning.
We're just absolutely fucked as farmers, guys. Everything is so fucked, and I do not see anybody surviving this farm crisis that we're in. Guys, look, one of the best splorn crops that I have ever raised in my life. And because of the tariffs, China will not fucking buy it. And they are the only country in the world they are the only country in the world that buys splorn. And so now I'm literally just chopping it, blowing it on the fucking ground because it's fucking useless. It's valueless. There's nothing I can fucking do to it. I am going to need government assistance to make it through this fucking crisis until these tariffs end. Look, I've never raised a splorn crop like this, guys. And this is just fucking heartbreaking to me. I don't know how I'm gonna survive. You know, Trump said he fucking loved us farmers, and here I am just blowing my splorn crop all over the ground. Hopefully he works a deal out where Antarctica and Mars will start buying this splorn and save the farmers. I'm sorry, splorn crop, but you're fucked.
We are being forced to bail out another country's farmers at the expense of our own. DC plans to send Argentina $20 billion in economic assistance. And what does Argentina do? They cut their export taxes and sold shiploads of soybeans to China in just 2 days. Meanwhile, farmers right here in Arkansas are left behind with falling prices and no market. I have been an Arkansas soybean farmer my entire life, until this year, when a deepening farm crisis forced my family to close a 150-year-old operation, and we weren't alone. And now this is coming for even more of us. Politicians like Tom Cotton are letting DC put Argentina over places like Arkansas. As a farmer myself, that is something I would not allow. I will fight for trade policies that put Arkansas farmers first, every time. I'm Hallie Schaffner. I'm the 6th-generation Arkansas farmer running to unseat Tom Cotton in the U.S. Senate.
1 in every 4 rows of soybeans in every field in the entire United States of America has to go abroad. China is the largest importer of soybeans in the world. They import 61% of the world's market. Last year, we sent around 12 billion, I think $14 billion worth of soybeans the year before. For the first time in 20 years, China's bought 0 soybeans and 0 new crop corn out of this country.
0?
So we went from 12 billion to 0.
Where are they buying the soybeans?
Brazil. You see, we lost 42% of our market share in the first tariff war. In Trump's first tariff war, the Chinese went to buying their soybeans from Brazil. They invested billions of dollars in Brazilian infrastructure. They have moved into Africa, and they're going to commercially farm in Africa. Since we left with USAID, they moved their Belt and Road program into Africa. So we've pretty much lost the Chinese market share. If we got 100% of the soybean business, Katie, for every country in the world except for Brazil and Argentina, we would still only have half the soybean business that China is.
Now, I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on.
He said, I love you, Mr. Trump. I need to see the fruit of your love.
5 of my customers have committed. That's how serious that this is.
And what it costs for us to farm is astronomical now.
I farm with paid-for equipment. All my tractors are 50 years old, and I can't hardly make this deal work. I think the tariffs are the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm.
After a horrible year last year where most farmers in Arkansas Delta lost money, this year's going to be worse.
We made a decision to go out this year in the spring. So my son will not be the 7th generation on our farm.
We're going to lose 25 or 30% of the farmers in this country if they don't do something. It has to be done, and it's not just here. It's everywhere.
This is what happens when a bunch of entitled, MAGA voting Americans stand on a box and push isolationist policy, like tariffs. You guys said that all the other countries will be affected by these tariffs, but we as Americans are untouchable. Let's isolate America. We don't need any other countries. Let's put America first. Well, the soybean farmers who overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump fucked around and found out that that just isn't the case for them. Most of their soybean crops are bought by China because America does not consume that many soybeans. They rely on China to buy the soybean crops. China earlier this year came out and said, ew, we don't want your soybean crops. You can sell them to someone else because we're going to go to Argentina to get ours. That's exactly what they did. And like you just heard the soybean farmer say, they have nothing on the books. They have nobody to buy their soybean crops and they are SOL for it. I don't know, maybe you should have put America first and grown corn. You should have switched to corn, I guess. You chose to grow soybeans, which just quite simply, I guess, is not putting America first. You should have chosen potatoes. If you wanted to go full isolationist and vote for a man who wanted to isolate us and, like, throw away our relationships with foreign nations, that's what you chose. And now no one wants to buy your crops. Crops that you grew knowing that they needed to be exported, yet voted for Trump anyways. Classic. My name is Mercedes Chandler. I don't feel bad for you guys. Give me a follow or you won't see my face again. Thank you. Goodbye.
Good morning. Got a little farming news for y'all. You may or may not know China is the United States' biggest customer for our soybean crop. We need trade deals with them pretty bad because they buy the biggest majority of our soybeans. Argentina and Brazil, down in South America, they're our biggest competitor in soybeans and corn. Sometimes they'll raise 2 or 3 crops of corn. They always raise a big soybean crop. but Argentina is a huge competitor for the United States. Well, this week, Argentina lifted a tax, a commodities export tax. I don't know the exact name of what it was, but they lifted a tax on exporting commodities, grain, stuff like that. Well, in 2 days' time, China made a really good business deal. They bought 84 million bushels of soybeans from Argentina. That's 30 cargo ships worth in 2 days' time. Good business move by China. Don't blame them at all there. Well, in the meantime, Argentina stopped that, put tax back on because they hit their quota. Well, last night there was some kind of meeting. I don't know what all went down, but I know the biggest part of it that went down. The Argentina economy is pretty horrible. The peso is way below the dollar right now. They done a deal with the United States for some kind of line swap, pretty much a loan. The United States is about to send $20 billion to Argentina. Argentina is going to send $20 billion worth of their peso, which is not worth the same amount as our dollar is. So we're getting kind of the raw end of the deal on that one. And another thing about Argentina, they're not the best in the business about paying their bills back. They're kind of like your sister's boyfriend that don't got no job and don't really like to pay for nothing and rides off of everybody else. That's kind of the way Argentina is. We just sent them $20 billion. All the while, they're sending tax-free China 84 million bushels of soybeans. That don't make much sense. That's kind of like wiping before you poop. Why would you help out your biggest competition and hurt yourself with your biggest customer? I don't understand the deal. I don't know what's going on. I ain't trying to make this political. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. If you voted for Trump, if you didn't vote for Trump, even if you did, there comes a time you need to start holding people accountable. I don't understand what's going on, but they need to get their head out of their rear end and start helping out the United States and their farming economy before they go to helping South America and other farming economies. I don't know. That don't make a lot of sense to me, but hey, that's just, it bees like that sometimes. You'll have that on them big jobs, but that's the big news. China ain't bought a single bushel from the United States this year. They just bought 84 million bushels from Argentina in 2 days. And the United States thought it was a good idea to go ahead and loan Argentina $20 billion just so their economy can do a little bit better. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong by being a little upset or pissed off, but I hope y'all have a great day. If you don't mind, hit that old like and follow and all that good jazz over there. Y'all get after it, baby.
Some people are thinking that this tariffs policy is the policy that came to upgrade the US. Though it's one of the ways that are killing America. Ask me why. This policy is the policy that made China to stop doing business with the US. It's the same policy that made over 34 countries stop trading or doing business with the US. There's no DHL, there's no post. People are not buying from US anymore. People are not sending their goods in US anymore. People are crying. I mean, these Maga people, US citizens are crying days and nights just because of tariffs. And I remember when he was campaigning, he was saying, I'm going to increase tariffs on countries. And the people are like, hey, this is the president that we've been praying for. Yeah. Enjoy. I see people crying always. He promised you to make America a paradise on earth. Now people are leaving America to other countries, to different countries. Anyway, let's continue this video. Let's continue, and please subscribe to this channel. And make sure you watch to the end. Let's continue.
Soybean farmers in Arkansas are begging for help from the Trump administration. China has reserved exactly 0 of their crops for purchase behind Trump's unprovoked tariff war, and I'll give you 3 things about it. Thing number 1, oh, now y'all want socialism. I get it. Handouts for white farmers, good. SNAP benefits for poor black kids, bad. After decades of subsidies that disproportionately went to white farmers, now you want the government to jump in and save you once again? I think it's time to pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Thing number 2, your loss, JD Vance's gain. The couch cushion Casanova was an early investor in a startup called Acre Traders. They buy up fractional portions of U.S. farmland. This makes your vice president uniquely positioned to capitalize off of all these distressed farms. It's almost as if they have a vested interest in standing by and watching your farm fail. Thing number 3, where the fuck did all those red hats go? Y'all still them boys or nah? Out of all these images coming out of these farmer prayer sessions, I haven't seen one stitch of MAGA regalia. It's funny how all the merch disappears when he's not targeting immigrants and black folk. I guess the cult meeting got canceled when reality showed up. At the end of the day, this is the perfect case of reaping what you sow, but in this instance, the harvest is bitter. But what do you think? Should these farmers get bailed out, or should we just send our warmest thoughts in tariffs?
You talk to America's farmers, they'll tell you these are tough times. A combination of high operating costs, low commodity prices, and lost markets has had devastating repercussions on the agriculture industry and the communities built around it. CBS's Lana Zak is in Davenport, Iowa tonight with new details on the growing crisis.
Farmers say this has been a perfect storm. They were already battling higher growing costs and crop disease, and now China, which had previously purchased half of all U.S. exports, has pulled out.
U.S. soybean farmers are starting their harvest, but they face steep losses that could fuel farm bankruptcies and foreclosures nationwide.
This is awful discouraging. You know, we do our very best to grow a good crop to feed the world, and then we can't hardly give it away.
Many growers say they feel betrayed. Last week, the Trump administration gave Argentina a financial lifeline, a $20 billion loan. But Argentina then cut the price of its own soy exports to China, undercutting U.S. farmers.
If we don't do something, we're not going to have no more family farms.
In Arkansas this month, hundreds of farmers packed into a church to plead for help from the government.
I'm in the worst shape right now that I've ever been in.
With prices for crops crashing, farmers are doing everything they can to stay viable, even selling off equipment. Joel's Tractors in Strawberry Point, Iowa saw a 30% jump in farm machinery up for auction this year.
Put a fingerful of grease in there.
Keeping aging tractors running has Lawrence Christensen and his team working at full throttle.
The demand is stronger than the availability.
New equipment costs have increased by 60% in the last 8 years. John Deere, a U.S. manufacturing icon, says U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum will cost them $600 million this year. Over the past 2 years, the company has had to lay off 2,500 employees.
Majority of my family works here.
Gabriel Gomez was a proud Deere employee, following in the footsteps of his dad and uncles. Friday was his last day.
It's like a kick to the gut, right? When you're getting laid off after you've given 20 plus years to the company.
When you think about these tariffs and the ripple effects that they've had, do you think it's worth it?
You know, you hope that possibly in the long term, they would be helpful. Currently here in the short term, it's really killing us. We were sold that we were going to do everything we could for the American workers, and we're seeing quite the opposite at this time.
President Trump says he will make it up to farmers, promising them some of the tariff revenue. But here in this area where John Deere is headquartered, the economic losses are hitting the entire community.
I don't want to make any comment on this amount, $20 billion that Mr. Trump gave to Argentinians. But what I can say is giving them is not a bad thing, but if you give them $20 billion and your people are just crying, your people are asking for help for bailout, people who voted for you, people who were with you when you were campaigning, why can't you give them to? They are your people. Why can't you give them? Come on, come on. By the way, Thank you for watching. It was good to be with you in this video, and please make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Let's meet in another episode, and I would like to give a shout out to people who created these clips that I used in this video. So thank you very much. Let's meet in another episode. Peace out.